Good morning. This is Play to Win with Mark Henderson Leary, and this is my good friend Brad. Brad, how are you?
And I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Why do you ask?
No particular reason.
Doesn't even make sense. Just because you ask every time, and we haven't talked in at least a week, and so
It has been a week.
But
you seem to be squealing in on two wheels today, though.
I am. In fact, sometimes things don't go always, or at least exactly as planned.
Yeah.
It is 9 minutes after the normal start time, which it was supposed to be. 24 minutes after our sound check and all that. So no sound check, no nothing. Just go live, and which is fun. And so
are you okay?
I'm fantastic. So
is everything around you okay?
Well, so Monday mornings are precise, orchestrated sequences of events, and so the alarm goes off. I got to get up and go, and I can't. There's no dilly-dallying, and got to move through it. And this morning was going great. On track. I got my milestones for the morning, like when I need to be walking the dog, when I need to be snuggling with my son. There's a precise time. It has to be like 6:45 is the time, by the way. Must be snuggling with son by 6:45. Depart the house 7:15 to 7:30, depending on, both can work. 7:15 is ideal. Somewhere around 6:30, just getting out of the shower, daddy. And the timing was like, I need you to stay asleep a little longer. And the urgency went up. And I was like, are you okay, son? And he was coughing. And I started to hear a sequence of sounds that I started to sense might be urgent.
Oh, no.
And so, and then suddenly, urgent sounds from the son.
Oh, no.
Daddy, now. And so out of the shower, quickly kind of like get ready, grab a giant beach towel, run through the kitchen, grab a stainless steel bowl, and running up the stairs, diving over the over the doggy gate and up there. And a minor mess was already there. So there was not the puddled pools that I was expecting, but it was exactly that. Yeah. So sequences of events that have led to he's staying home today. And so I'm hoping he feels better soon. And so anyway, no temperature. I think we're okay there. But anyway, that happens. So here, it just kind of throws off the morning. So I find myself in times like this. And this I'm going to open the door to this, and I want you to therapize me again. We've done this before because I don't really know where this is going. I do find myself in those moments where there's a sequence, especially when it's a complex schedule, a complex sequence of events that I have planned or studied to try to be good at, and I find myself in the middle of it, and suddenly one of the dominoes has been removed, or one of the Jenga pieces is out, and suddenly nothing is going to work. And I fight that like crazy. I get stuck. I get sort of, this can't be happening. There is only one way this is supposed to go, and I am not in any way prepared to acknowledge the possibility of any other sequence of how this day is going to go. How do you handle those situations?
I tend not to, I don't know. I tend not to put stuff back to back, and there are certain people, there's a certain gene where people feel like they have to stack things back to back. And, oh, no, I can make it. I've got 60 seconds in between the transition, so I'll be fine. I'm not suggesting that that's you by any stretch of the imagination. But
no, not me.
I have known a few of those in my life, and they always get themselves in a pickle because inevitably one will, just a minor tweak, and all of a sudden it's a like you said, a house of cards, or the dominoes just starting to fall.
So do you is that an ongoing method? You just say, hey, that plan sounds a little tight, and let's do anything else. I don't do tight plans.
Yeah, basically.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you ever find yourself with the sequence of a plan that's sort of foisted upon you, and you don't get to choose? Like, say, a customer and a family obligation, and things kind of line up where you're like, well, F the family. I got a work thing.
Yeah, rarely. But yeah, 2 weeks ago I was in Nashville, and I had to fly back for a daddy-daughter event for the drill team the Wednesday night, and had something happen to my flight, and I had been late. That would have been uncontrollable, but I managed my calendar so that it shouldn't have been a problem. barring any unforeseen circumstances. So, it's funny because I had lunch with my mom yesterday, and she is 75 and is busier now than she has ever been in her life, and she often complains about it. Not horribly, but just suggests that it's a little busier than she would want to be on any given day. In fact, yesterday when we had lunch, she had already done 3 things that morning and had 2 things that night to do. And the problem that she has is that there's one word that she does not know how to articulate in her vocabulary. And that is the word no.
No.
And so, I'm not afraid to hurt people's feelings. If I say, that's just not going to work for me. Can we find another time? Because the worst they can say is no. Let's move the schedule a little bit. Well, Brad, we really need you to be here till 4. Yeah, here's the challenge. I've got a commitment at 4:30. We can either cut it short and end at 3:30, so I have time to get to my 4:30, or we can look for another day. Which would you prefer?
So I get that, and I have that problem that I don't want to disappoint. That's for sure. But I'm
just a walking disappointment. I'm used to it.
No, I don't think you walk. I think you just sit there. Just sit there and disappoint people.
Don't sell yourself short. You could sit still and still be a disappointment.
That's right. Clearly, that's not the case. Clearly, you make great things happen. So that's this. Hopefully, there's some wisdom in this, because the disappointment. That's one thing. I can, through habit and training, learn to say that, or learn proxy. So I don't set my schedule. My assistant does. She's programmed to disappoint you. I can't do it. So I have somebody whose job it is to disappoint you, and so that helps. And I think that's real. That's helpful. But also there is. But does she put a buffer between every meeting? Is there a 15-minute gap always, just in case something runs long or something happens in between, or you have to go to the bathroom or bite a snack or something? Well, that's a good point. And sometimes, yes, and there's whole rules, because my schedule starts to get. My schedule is not a regular schedule. My schedule is essentially part of the factory. It's like one of the levers that go to success and profitability. So totally get that. It's a high art to figure out exactly what works and what doesn't, and how to put things together in a certain day. And so there have been times when it's like, look, Mark, you've got 5 coaching calls and they're all due this week, and I've only got these spots, and you're going back to back for 5 hours, and okay, we're going to try that, and those are hopefully exceptions. And then we kind of go back to, well, that worked, that didn't work, or give me 3 in a row and with a 30-minute break. And so sometimes it gets formulaic, and that starts to work like that. But so it's not quite that simple all the time. Yeah. My biggest problem, though, is in that, especially when it comes to running the business and anything. It's not just the business; it's the weekend. We want to do 3 great things this weekend, and I don't want to say no, because I don't want to disappoint myself. I want to have a great weekend. I want to do everything. I want to take advantage of the opportunity. That's a big one for me. The idea of let's not let the good opportunity get away. Today's a great day to do all 7 of those things. Yeah. How do you handle that? I just don't. No, it's funny, because my brother and I are 2 very different creatures when it comes to this. For me, the idea of vacation is having an opportunity to become bored. Because I typically run a schedule, similar to yours. So it's just nonstop, right? Nonstop people, nonstop talking, nonstop meetings. So when I go on vacation, I just want to be still and be quiet, and maybe have a chance to say, I'm kind of bored, right? Because I'm never bored. And so vacation to me, that's kind of vacation. So my brother and his family are very different. They, sun up to sundown, they want to go, they want to experience everything. And, a prime example, we were in Jackson 2 years ago, and man, when we do family vacations together, we just give him the agenda, because we're like, look, you guys love research, y'all love packing it, so let's go. And there was something every single day, and most of them were all day.
trip through Yellowstone, hiking, rafting, fishing, free climbing, your rodeo, blah, 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 blah. And when you look at the itinerary or you start thinking about it, especially for me, I'm just like, oh my God, wow, it's going to be, But, we do it and we absolutely love it. We had a great time, wonderful experiences. And so I think there's room for both, because although that's not our natural style, we did it and we had an amazing time and some of the most phenomenal experiences that I've ever had on vacation. But at the same time, I'll go and spend, my wife and I went to Florida. I went out first thing in the morning, got a spot on the beach, told the waiter, I was like, look, I'm going to have a beer can sitting right here. Come up, shake it. If it's empty, bring another one. Don't wait. Don't ask me. Just replace it. At noon, bring a menu, set it on the table. And I said, I'm going to have my headphones in. Don't wake me up. Don't talk to me. Just let me just be. And I laid there for like 9 hours, right? And just, which was paradise. But, so I think there's room for both. You just have to find out, for me anyway, it's a matter of finding that groove, because you want to pack it all in, but you don't have to, and it still will be okay.
I
unless
struggle.
You're given a finite amount of time.
I get that. So there's the exceptions. Sometimes you're bored because there's nothing to do, and sometimes you have a tight agenda that you didn't get to choose. Right. And then there's the middle ground where you want to keep the standard. And so I do think, well, I get confused, because sometimes that elegantly lined up agenda it's just like ice skating. Everything just clicks. Everything, it's 30 minutes. Oh, 5 minutes here. And look at this. Look, we did 8 things. Can you believe we did 8 things in 6 hours? It's incredible. That was amazing. Everything was perfect, wasn't it? And so that leaves me with the feeling, let's go do that again. And then you try it again. And actually, I think what ends up happening is it kind of becomes the norm a little bit. That it's possible. That it's a skill set to do that. And then those days where it's like, nope, today's not happening.
Do you see it as a challenge? Like, do you feel like it's like a badge of honor whenever you've chocked it full and you achieve it, even today?
I think, yeah. To me, it's part of the optimization of output. I want to make sure that every day is maximum productive. And okay. I have a huge list, and I know there's a pathology behind this, and I have a huge list of high value activities and things that I want to do, and I'm having to say no to the most of them. And so to me, it is a valuable skill to optimize the timing and not waste any time doing something that's not high value, because somebody else paid the price for that. And so let's do all that and with no waste. And so like a Monday, for example, is so many things tie into it. There's getting my son to school on time. There's getting everything going in the morning, and the several important meetings that just sort of kick the week off. And this, not the least of which, and it's tightly packed in there. And I don't know what I'm saying anymore.
Yeah, I don't see that one getting fixed. I think there's people that are wired tight, right? And they like that. I think there's people that thrive off of that pressure, that energy. Maybe,
but there's another ingredient here that's worth calling out, and that is that I have always been highly distractible. Okay. Highly distractible. So for like mornings, being on time in the morning has always been a struggle for me. And so like on a day to day specifically, it's the fact that it was going well, that I got actually ahead. I was like, that was kind of a win. But that goes into my time thinking, that if I just went to my own devices, my natural behaviors, like I would never be anywhere doing anything at all. And so I would always be distracted with, the butterfly. It's like, I thought we were going to go to the mountain bike ride today. It's like, no, what were we? Totally. I would be squirrels all the time. So I'm constantly in a bit of an arm wrestling match with my attention. And so it is the structure of a day, at any given day, at any level of structure, I can blow through that. And I guess it's one of those days when they just have more things in them, the more dominoes fall, that I feel more anxiety. Because I guess I think what I have recently experienced many times where, today they had some bounce in it. Something didn't go right. I had some time and I was able to revisit, reschedule or do something. And the day just kind of flowed in bigger chunks. And those days when they have smaller things in it where, I think less movable things. And I made this move, right? I said, hey, we're going to start a little bit late. So I made that work.
Yeah.
I think my ADHD is a factor there. And I think that goes into the bias of me kind of always leaning into my schedule. Like this is going to be a struggle. And so I think that's part of it, that I don't know the difference between a balanced, healthy schedule and an overly tight schedule, because I have to look at them both. Like if you don't keep your eye on the ball, you're going to miss the boat in either case. So I have to really engage.
So how much of your coaching, like, you and I have had very, very similar types of businesses over the years, as far as the time we spend with clients and the deliverables, so to speak. How much of your time is recurring for the next 12 months?
Recurring?
Yeah. Like you have a certain amount of time that you're going to spend with each client doing coaching, doing reinforcement, doing strategic planning,
right.
blah, blah, blah.
So a typical client is going to be 5 days a year. And so there's roughly 20-ish clients right now. So 100 days of the next 12 months are going to be scheduled, and they are each of those scheduled 90 days in advance. So,
okay. And then you book the next ones at the end of that 90 days?
Every time a session concludes, the next session is scheduled.
Okay, so each client only has one on the calendar at a time.
Yeah, one actually on the calendar. That's right.
So
in most cases, sometimes the annual scheduled as well. Yeah.
So is there a reason why that's not just a, hey, look, okay, thank you for hiring me. We're gonna have a great time together. It's gonna be amazing. Pull out your calendar. Mm-hmm. Let's map out 12 months.
Well, a lot of people do that.
If we have to change, that's okay, but let's go ahead and get it on the calendar.
Well, see, that's the thing, is it's the change part. So that I'm working towards that, and people who do what I do that. But for me, it would be a guaranteed set of changes, because there's not enough. There's some major things, and for me, the contract is we don't reschedule these. And so before, I don't want to say, let's schedule this 12 months out and reschedule whenever you want, because I might have to do that. Like, no, that would be a problem.
No, I agree. Yeah, we wouldn't want to make it a reschedule whenever you want. But if I get a 18-month agreement with the client that we're going to do reinforcement training and I say pick a day of the week, the month, whatever, and we're going to make that our reoccurring. And we're going to put it on the calendar, let the team know that this is what it's going to be, and to schedule around it. And it just runs. Now, does that mean that oh shit, we missed that's actually a holiday this year? Okay, we got to change that. Or well, that fell on tax day. I mean, things do come up, but it tends to be the exception, not the rule. And whenever they come and say, hey, I need to reschedule it, they're rescheduling around my schedule, not their own at this point, because hey, I've told you what my availability is. Now we need to. If we need to reschedule it, I'm not going to be quite as flexible as I was when we first put it on the calendar.
Yeah. That's a good thought. I hadn't thought about making it sort of recurring to keep the pulse kind of aligned there. There are a lot of nuances.
The spacing, right? Yeah. I mean, to your point about having, 5 meetings in a day, or, 5 hours back to back to back. Mm-hmm. If you have 20 clients and you're meeting with them 5 times a year, you could, at least the big buckets, you could space out. I mean, I don't mean to be trying to coach.
Well, you are a coach, and I'm a coach, and sometimes we do that. That's perfect. I'm happy to learn something out of this.
But sometimes unsolicited coaching isn't always.
That's true. That's true.
Always received.
Especially when it's recorded and broadcast throughout the internet. Man, you're embarrassing me in front of my friends. No.
I wish I had a little bit more. The thing that I wish I had more of is that spontaneity to try to pack more in. It just doesn't. It's not my bag.
Yeah, I'm kind of the opposite. I really have to figure out how to say no, and to the point where I have to make sure, because I'll agree to anything in the moment, and so I have to have people whose job it is to not do that. And
and I don't know if I ever shared this with you, but my wife and I, after we had our second daughter, we got into a rut where we just said no to everything because we were always tired. We were always, whatever. And so one year we made a goal for ourselves to say yes to every invite that we got and just go. And so for one whole year we just said yes to every invite. And man, there'd be times where Friday afternoon you get home and, we got something on the calendar. I don't want to go. But we made ourselves do it. And we had a great time that year, right? Because we never felt like it, but once you get there, you have a good time. And, our commitment was that you didn't have to stay for the entire event, if you didn't feel like it, but just at least go, show your face, show people that you appreciate being invited and whatever. But, maybe we need to start doing that again.
Well, I like that. So I think maybe you and I are kind of creating that polarity there. I'm going to try to look at my process and see what I can thin out a little bit. And you might say yes to a few more things. And so we're out of time. I'll let you get going. Look at that. Well, it goes fast when you start 10 minutes late. But I think the summary on today is that, like so many things, the problem of the moment was created in the past. So for you to have a handle on those situations where things go wrong in the moment, you want to start now. Look forward, do some prediction. That's one of the abilities that I really harp on with my leadership teams is the prediction. To take a look forward into the week, forward into the quarter, and ask yourself, how's this going to go? What do we need to know? Do we need to save up money, save some time, say no to a few things? And it's just a simple skill that does so much for aligning where you're going to go in your life and your business. But it is take a minute and just look forward and ask, what do I need to know? What do I need to change? What could happen over the next week or over the next 90 days or even beyond? That's our time. We'll see you next time on Playing to Win with me, Mark, and my good friend, Brad.
Great one.
Thanks.
Enjoyed it.
Bye.
Good luck.
Wait a minute.
Good luck with your son. Hope he's okay.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, man.